welcome to North 100, a Canadian Highlander podcast. I'm Serge. Joining me, I have a Jer.
Hello.
Hey.
An Alex.
Wow.
And a Ben.
Yeah, I'm Ben. Hi. Hello.
Nothing else, just Ben?
Good intro. Solid intro. Wheeler.
There we go. I was waiting. You teased me one time because I stole your Wheeler from you, and the comments yelled at me, and I was like, I set you up so you could spike it, and no Wheeler
I haven't
this time?
been the same since.
Okay, well,
Maybe.
and yes, he is Wheeler, in case you were confused.
You're stuck with it now.
Want to remind you that North 100 is brought to you by you with your support over at the Patreon at patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. Let's start it off like we always do with the best cards, playing up to date. We have, yes, he is Wheeler.
My love for you is like a truck. Berserk. So yeah, let's talk Berserk. So for those not familiar, Berserk is an instant for 1 green that says cast Berserk only before the combat damage step.
Okay.
You don't see that a lot.
Nope.
It says target creature gains trample and gets +X/+0 until end of turn, where X is its power.
Okay.
At the beginning of the next end step, destroy that creature if it attacked this turn. So Berserk does a lot of things. Most importantly, it kills people. It kills people real good.
Yeah.
Kills them to death.
You can do some neat little interactions where you can target, say, their attacking creature that you absolutely must get rid of, assuming it's before the damage step, so you're going to take a little more lumps, but ultimately, it's here to kill people. And I think it's not killing enough people, because if you are a green deck and you have creatures with power 3 or greater in said green deck, you should probably be playing this card. This card only, like right now, the widespread appearances of this card are through like the Gruul Blitz decks, the variations of Blitz decks. You'll find it in the Simic kind of Sorensen tempo decks as well, as a great way to close out. Yeah, and
It's
that's
got the Miracle Grow creatures, so lots of them end up getting
That's
5-6
really
power.
cool.
Yeah, you haven't lived until you've berserked a Mana George and smacked them for like 40 damage.
The important part here is, of course, trample.
Trample.
It's not just a pump spell, but pump plus trample, right?
Right. If this only affected its power, then it's still going to get blocked by a plant token or a servo or whatever.
Yeah, but if you feed this to your Wake Thrasher,
yes, you will get a very large lad that will kill whatever is in front of it, be it an opponent, be it something that's blocking it. I find that it helps push through a lot of damage in decks that also don't have a lot of reach. So something like green-white or green-black especially. Being able to, attack with a Loxodon Smiter or a Knight of the Reliquary, and they throw whatever it may be in front of it, and you're like, haha, just kidding, you're dead.
Yeah, you've activated
A
my
Knight of
trap
Autumn
card.
with counters, because you're not playing against Ben.
A Knight of Autumn with counters.
Or that gained life.
Let's save the BM for later in this episode, shall we? But yeah, it's a card that it's as old as Magic itself, because it was originally printed in Alpha, Beta, Unlimited, that era.
with personally better art, but clearer text in the
It's-
reprint.
Yeah, I mean, that's the Dan
yeah.
Frazier is
Oh,
an
yeah.
absolute classic.
This is a guy who has just figured out dual wield.
Yeah.
He's like, but wait, what if I used 2 swords?
This warrior hit level 20 and was just like, I can proc into this now? Yeah. That might be an outdated reference, but all right. Yeah, this card just kills people dead, should be killing more people dead.
And you think it's
highly
underplayed, eh?
Absolutely.
I also think they just printed a bunch of cards that are really good with it. Like Gruul Spellbreaker is great with it.
Ooh.
Collision Colossus is great with it. Other underplayed cards like Blossoming Defense are great with it.
Yeah. I mean, if you're, Collision Colossus. This is like virtually. Is this a strictly better than?
Yes.
Colossal Might.
Colossal Might, but it's like you play both.
In before someone in the comments says something like, well, in your library, it has the converted mana cost of... So, but like, yes. Realistically, yes.
I feel like if you're playing Colossal Might and or Collision, you should probably play Berserk, because then you can just go like that, and you die.
Yes, that is going to be the best shell for the card, but I really want to push that, the juice, Berserk it, like Dreg Mangler.
I should probably try that.
You
Okay.
don't put it in black mold?
Oh.
Get it in there.
Yeah,
Get it in
right.
there.
Need to gain a bunch of life. Just smack that Nighthawk with it. Ooh, yeah, it's great card. Great card.
All right, before we move to our main segment for today, I have a question for you, the viewers. Do you like North 100?
No, they hate it.
Do you also like Loading Ready Run? Do you like Paper Magic? Because all these things are going to be coming together at Magic Fest Seattle. We're going to be there. I think Alex is on the fence, but the three of us are going to be there, as well as a large group of people from the greater Loading Ready Run, including Beej, who's actually going to be certifying people as official Highlanders. It's very exciting. Running the booth, like the amount of things Beej is doing there is going to be remarkable. You have something to add there?
He's just cringing to death.
I literally don't have a mic plugged in, so I can't add to anything.
Yeah. If you didn't hear Beej, he said he agrees and he's really looking forward to the
How'd they
convention.
let you bring a massive sword into the convention center? That's what I want to know.
Just get it peaceful.
so-
If you haven't yet seen Beej in a kilt, it's great.
Oh, it's beautiful. The face paint. Oh, yeah, like Saskia. Anyways, that's June 21st. June? June.
June 20th to 23rd.
June 20th to 23rd, you can find a lot of people there. Come battle us or engage in merchandise or other friendly activities. All right, let's talk about today's theme. So if you've been watching the streams and or the live channel, you might be familiar with a little something we like to call the Loading Ready Run Presents Highlander League Spring Season. Name
Paper fight.
could potentially be workshop a little bit. Yeah, on the Friday night paper fight. And we just concluded a 4-month tournament where the four of us, plus Ben Ulmer and Cam, sat down each week and battled, or each tournament, for battled for honor and for ice cream. And what was a little bit different from other tournaments that we've done in Loading Ready Run is we actually had some stakes. So how you did the previous week mattered. Your actual ranking mattered. And other than just the matches on camera, we had matches off camera. So we ran a little tournament each week and got to find out some winners. And if you're worried about spoilers and you haven't seen it yet, stop the episode now. Because Jer won. Yeah, it was very interesting. We, 3 points for a win. We had no draws. We had our winner here. It was very exciting. So that's the run-up of the league. And what we're going to talk about today is the decks we played, how we did, how we thought they did, and sort of like we made our own little micro meta, which is kind of a weird way to look at that.
Micrometa.
Yeah. In this metagame, what influenced our decisions of decks to bring, of cards to play? Obviously, maybe our decisions would be different if there was like a cash prize at the end, but I think it's still very interesting. So let's go through this week by week, starting with Jer. Jer, what deck did you play week 1 and why?
I played High Tide
Ooh, spicy.
because I wanted to let everyone know that we weren't pulling punches and I wanted to combo people into the dirt.
And how'd you do week 1?
I went 2-1. I got absolutely whomped by Alex, but I won the other two.
Interesting. All right, my first week, I brought BattleBots. I brought my workshop weenie list, which was a 3-color aggressive low to the ground deck that tries to cast really powerful spells like Hovermere on turn 1 with Mishra's workshop. And I went 3-0 that week. So obviously the Hovermere came to party. And party it did. Did I go 3-0 or did I go 2-1? I think I went 3-0.
I think you went. I think both you and Ben 3-0'd.
Yeah, the first tournament, something like that. And I brought it because it's a deck I love. I don't think a lot of people had a chance to see this deck before. I think it's powerful. And I think going into sort of an unknown meta and bringing an aggro deck is not that bad, because you're like, well, if people are being cute, if people aren't ready, I'm just going to steamroll some people, and that works.
Steamroll them with 1/2s for 2.
I hate this card.
In case you'd missed that part.
It carries the sword so well. Alex.
I brought Affinity.
Oh, right, we had the mirror match.
Which is similar. It turned out that my Wheel of Fortune was worse than Surge's. So I recall getting pretty ranched by you.
Yeah,
Because like we had similar decks. I don't want to say that mine was worse, but at least in the mirror it underperformed. I like the deck a lot. As I recall, it was a Boros build because like I like cutting colors. It seems to smooth out some stuff. I think the deck's really strong. It's like plays a lot of the same cards that you do, but sort of like tidied down. This is the Tempered Steel deck.
Yeah.
So, you play Tempered Steel, a bunch of artifact creatures.
Now, why did you bring that one? That's not really a deck you're known for.
No, it's one that I've wanted to play, and I had picked up a bunch of cards, and I was like sort of putting it together, and I wanted to try it. I like aggressive decks, and this one is a lot of fun. It's very explosive.
Yeah.
It's sort of... It kind of has these like haymaker games, and then these like sort of like lawnmower games. There's like
Just please start.
Goodbye.
No.
One time.
And how did you do?
I don't remember. I think I won in 2. I think I went sort of.
Okay. And Ben, week 1.
I brought Garbage Platter because Twitter told me. I went 3-0. I got to do some pretty wacky things, and yes, the deck didn't include Garbage Fire. For those not super familiar with the deck, the short and dirty. There we go. Wow, how'd they get my picture on a magic? The short and dirty is that this version is like a Grixis based combo deck. Technically, it's 4 colors. But you have a million different combos that all have intersectioning pieces, and you just look to kill someone as quickly as possible without playing any real protection outside of a hand attack suite that is also there to target yourself. I had an interesting game on camera where oh gosh, what happened? I don't know. It involved killing somebody simultaneously with Tendrils, Sneak Attack,
right.
and Labman.
Oh yeah, I remember that. You're like Tendrils.
Yeah, you Tendrils me to like 1 or 2
and then
or
held
something.
priority, activated sneak in show, and then drew a card off your empty library or something.
Just swagging on me.
I Tendrils for a lethal amount, but with the final Tendrils on the stack, I activated Sneak Attack to put Labman in, which Labman attacking would have been lethal, but unfortunately Tendrils would have resolved before combat, so I had to cast a Brainstorm to win off of Labman. I just had to.
Yeah, that was the BM we were talking about for later, right?
Huh?
And you went through with that. And the other 2 people who played, or the other 2 decks that week, Benjamin Ulmer brought Blue Moon and went 0-3. And then Cameron brought Aristocrats and went 0-3. And that was really interesting. So we have our first week. We have a blind metagame. Nobody knows what other people are going to bring. And we have 2 combo decks.
Just to specify, because this will be relevant as we progress, Cameron brought Mardu Aristocrats.
Ah, okay.
All 4 weeks.
No,
he changed it.
Oh,
Yeah.
right,
it
he added
changed.
colors.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So we had 2 combo decks, 2 aggro decks. What is Aristocrats? Combo mid-range?
Synergy mid-range.
Hard to pin is what it is.
Yeah, Aristocrats goes into every different deck description.
Except control.
All right. And a control
It's not
deck.
control.
And it was interesting. So the aggro decks were split. We had like 2 very different sort of showtimes there. Combo obviously did quite well. Blue Moon, kind of surprising there. You imagine the Blue Moon deck would have. Did Ben play either of you 2?
Yes.
Both of you.
Yes.
And it didn't go well for the control player here.
Well, Jer's on a combo control deck, right? Like High Tide can play a game of counter your thing.
It's a slower combo deck.
Yeah, you're for sure not like looking to fingers crossed kill someone on turn 2 or 3 or whatnot.
Right. You can kind of pick your
I actually
moment.
really like the High Tide versus control matchup, just because they have a bunch of dead removal spells. You have way more blue cards than them, and eventually your hand's just going to be such that like you have enough gas that they just won't have enough counter spells basically every time.
My matches against Ben, one of them involved him resolving a moon effect, which was great because it fixed my mana for a sneak attack into Trench George.
Trench George!
So Trench George kind
Trench
of...
Gorger.
Yeah, Trench Gorger. Just kind of
That feels
everything.
so bad.
Oh, yeah.
What does this card do? Trench George. I've never heard of this
So
card.
Trench Georger is a 6 blue for a 6/6 trample. Now the mana cost and the power and toughness don't matter, because when Trench George enters the battlefield, you can search your library for any number of land cards, exile them, and then shuffle your library. And Trench George's power and toughness become equal to the number of cards exiled this way. So hits the battlefield.
That's
now,
so good in sneak attack.
Oh, it's fantastic. This card kills people.
Oh
dead.
yes, it has trample.
Yeah.
Although it is awkward when your deck contains very few lands.
What?
I
Well-
have had some, I have had some 17-17 Trench
You
Georges.
have not.
Oh, I have. There's recorded evidence of my 18-18 Trench George not getting the job done.
The greed is finally backfiring.
Oh,
What do you mean, finally?
What do you mean finally?
It fails on the
It,
regs.
it routinely fails. Just nobody remembers it.
I just like Ben's like, Ben, how many lands you bring in? 9 land gorger. Like,
Oh, well, we'll get to that.
9 land George Tribal.
okay, wow. God, that feels so bad. You play a Blood Moon, you're like, good, I couldn't cast any red spells. Now you're dead.
Oh yeah, my deck plays 0 basics at the time, and I was playing the like enters the battlefield tapped lands that sacrifice themselves. So like Sulphur Vent or Ebon Stronghold.
Yeah, to try and accelerate a little
Yeah,
bit.
so it seemed my progression was quite slow, and my mana was awkward. But thankfully, a moon hit play, and it made everything a lot easier.
Always lucky.
Wow. So week 1, interesting, sort of a meta-analysis there. So now week 2 is when things ideally start to get interesting, right? Because now we have a feel for the room, we have a feel for what people have brought. Did anything change? And knowing what people have brought, knowing what people are likely to bring, when you brought in your deck for week 2, did that affect anything? Let's start with Jerrigan. So what did you bring and why?
I brought Bug Reclamation because I wanted to test with the card Wilderness Reclamation. For this entire tournament, I didn't really try to meta against what anyone was predicted to bring or what I thought they were going to bring, because like if I end up getting like you only played against 3 of the potential 5 opponents, so like trying to meta against one person probably isn't a very winning strategy.
People are gonna know if you're trying to shark it, and then that's
And, like,
just gonna be like,
It's
Yeah.
also it's also just like not very fun, not very good. Like if I'm like, oh yeah, Ben's like probably 75% to bring like eggs or academy or something, and I'm just like, yeah, null rod, stony silence. It's like, like yeah, like it would be fun. I'd beat Ben, but like I did that anyways. So
ouch.
I like how the conversation. You know what? I'll get you in week 4.
but yeah, my most exciting match week 2 was against Surge, where I went down to 1 life twice and won.
Yikes.
It hurt. So I ran back BattleBots because it's kind of hard to have a 3-0 deck and be like, well, that didn't do, that was, why, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. But I did fix it slightly. I changed like 2 or 3 cards because I was like, when you build in a hurry and you realize, oh, I've forgotten a couple cards, I should go get those and see how that goes. And did not do as well the second week. Oh, you went 3-0 2 weeks in back-to-back?
No, I went 2-1, 2-1.
Oh, 2-1, 2-1. And you came back and you won. Interesting.
Should have played more artifacts.
Well, I mean, we had the 3-0 there. I went 1-2 with BattleBots the second time. I lost to Jer, I lost to Cameron, and I won against, would have been one of the 2 of you.
I'm gonna be real with you. I don't remember many of the results.
Oh. Okay.
Not me.
That's fine. Then maybe I beat Alex that time.
Seems possible.
Yeah, or maybe I lost to Cameron the week after. I can't quite remember. And it was weird seeing such a different performance. But again, I think this is also what Alex was talking about with the deck. Is sometimes if you play a very high variance deck, you can also beat yourself. So when you're running high, when you're running hot with a deck like that, it feels so good because you're like, oh, it's unbeatable. I can put together like the most powerful 7-card hands in the room.
Yep.
And then when you mull to 5 like 4 times in a night, and you're just like, these
just like,
pieces don't really all fit
Vault
together
of
that well.
Whispers, Welding Jar, Ornithopter.
You're definitely a high roller deck, right? Like if you play enough games in a row with a deck like that, you might not see the best kind of average win-loss ratio. But for like going in again week 1, like you said, it's a really smart choice because you're like, well, I'm coming out guns blazing.
Yeah.
Should have said high ram roller.
Ooh,
I
you're just like, yeah, nice. So yeah, I'm a little bit disappointed from that, and so it goes. I didn't really make, I think sort of like Jared's talking about, I didn't make any very specific meta calls, but looking at the room, I figured, like, again, a good aggro deck is probably going to be fine, and we'll see what happens there. Anyways, Alex.
Because I had to, I brought in Black Mold,
Yeah.
which I really love that deck.
Yeah.
And I keep rebuilding it, and I keep liking it. I feel like maybe I should build it and then like stick with it and really like just hone it to a razor's edge at one of these days, because like I feel like it has potential. You play a shocking number of haste creatures in that deck, like for something that doesn't contain any red. It's always fun surprising people. They're like, "What do you mean it has haste?
Yeah, why is this
Why
green
does
black
this have
deck?" Yeah.
haste?"
You can just give him the juice.
Give him the juice. Just like feed him the juice. I think I 1-2'd again. Or maybe I 2-1 this time. Who can say? I mean, whoever has the results.
Science hasn't come far enough to be able to track results from a week-to-week basis.
We don't have the technology.
No,
so,
it's simply not there.
that having been said, I don't recall anything like astonishingly like out of control, like nothing completely nuts. Like the deck's just good and it performs like well, and I'm pretty familiar with it, so I like it.
This also seems to match your approach to tournaments anyways. It's not like, what's the room or what's happening? You're like, what do I want to play?
Yeah, I make a decision basically like whenever I play for
Game day decisions?
Yeah, well, whenever I play for camera, it's a combination of like what do I feel like playing and what do I think people will like to see.
Oh, yeah.
And I was like, people want to see this deck because I talk about it all the time. So yeah, we loaded it up and ran it through, and it was all right. How about you?
I played Jeskai midrange because Twitter told me to. And
If
The
Twitter
2 for 2
told you to
right
jump
now.
off a bridge.
just
4
wait until
for 4.
Just wait until we get the end of this segment. So very kind of stock. It was a list that I had not really touched for a while because it's one of those decks where years ago I built it.
Yeah.
Did very well with it.
You were on a tear with that deck
And
for a
then
long
was
time.
just like, well, my kid's off to university. I don't have to be here anymore for this. Other people can hang out with this deck or whatever it may be.
And just to clarify, you played like the Mantis Rider version,
mid-range,
not like the like 10 creature bunch of counter spells.
Yeah,
No.
name the 5 best cards in the deck, just off the top of your head.
Mantis Rider,
Yeah.
Lightning Angel, Soulfire Grandmaster.
Don't say Jackie Chan.
Mantis Rider,
War
Lightning Angel,
Ward Leader Helix.
War Leader. Yeah.
So, but basically the idea of these like very awkwardly costed but very powerful cards,
Well,
right?
nothing's awkward when you have Mystic Monastery in play. Try lands. Try lands. And yeah, it's I was really looking to kill my opponent and using my counter spells instead to either protect my threats or present threats that are difficult for my opponent to deal without using multiple things or whatever it may be. And I went 2-1. I lost to Jer, mostly because having not played the deck, Jeskai is definitely something where, honestly, you could wake up, have from like a decade-long cryogenesis, be given Jeskai, and you could probably X1 an event with it. It just like the raw power of the deck does so much heavy lifting for you. But then you're going to lose in instances where like the deck doesn't give you what you want, and if you're going to play sloppy or like if you construct it in a way, like it was a deck that I played, won with it, and then immediately was like, hey, don't play this exact list. Like, here are the changes I would make. It's a deck that you can kind of go into any metagame with, but you should use the tools at hand and address what you expect.
Well, that's mid-range. It's,
Right.
you know, it's a 60-40 list. It has game against everything, and then you can sort of flex your flex slots to try and shore up the matchups if you, depending on what you think you're
Yeah.
going to expect.
Yeah, basically. So I wasn't super happy with the exact list I played, but I mean, it at least gave me a 2-1.
Yeah.
So that was nice.
So Ben Ulmer brought mono red that day, and
Was it
did
big red or just
No.
like
it was
RDW.
red deck wins. He destroyed me once again.
He went 3-0. So he went from going control to aggro, and I think Ulmer was probably the person who did the best of reading the room and was like, all right, what I come up against last week, pretty fast combo decks, or like a slow combo deck that disrupted my control plan. Just like, I'm just going to burn them out and see what happens, and did very, very well for himself, which I right on.
I mean, it's like mono red is always there and always going to be good.
Yep.
I mean, unless the rest of the meta like is specifically stacked against you. That deck is pretty routinely good, and
Even then.
Yeah.
Like, if you got Skullcrack, if you got
Price of
Frost
Progress.
on Price, Fire Blast, like,
it's just like, okay, I'm
Yeah.
on green white life game. I lost.
Red's just always good.
Yeah.
It's just always.
And then Cameron showed up with Aristocrats again. Was this at the point when he added green, or was that week 3?
I believe
it
it
was-
was week 3.
That's
Yeah.
what I think as well.
And one
but-
two again. I love that Cam throughout all of this was just like, I'm just going to tweak this same list. And you're like, yeah, props, respected that.
It's a good list, Braun.
Started making really, really tight plays, like week 4, the camera match.
That was
We're getting a
such
little
an
bit-
insane match.
Getting a little bit ahead of ourselves and stuff like that too. So this is neat, and I suppose our little tournament meta is going to be different from a store due to the prizes, due to the nature of our relationship with one another. And you're right, we're not bringing in hosers. We're not being like, you know what, Wheeler, I hate you, which I've done at Yellow Jacket, but not on camera. I'm gonna bring the list specifically to win this matchup. Hope I get paired against you and lose every other one.
And
right?
just to clarify, it's a worse idea to do it at Yellow Jacket because there's more people, so you're less likely to play that exact one person.
So when Ben was dominating with Jeskai, and it wasn't like you won one tournament, you stopped. You went like a month running that deck back, week after week, and doing very well with yourself.
I think I won 6 events over 2 months.
Oh yeah, it was ridiculous.
Maybe 7.
Yeah, and I was like, I brought in the green-white uncountable hexproof deck. Basically, this is the nails in the Wheeler coffin deck, and never got paired against you. It was ridiculous.
you should have played Aristocrats or Esper midrange.
Apparently, just something like that. No, green-white hexproof uncounterable, which is quite possibly the worst version of green-white. You're like, hey, how's your mono-red matchup? Normally fine, but I made it bad so I could beat Ben.
Yep. Don't do that. It's
No.
not worth it.
No, definitely not
There are
worth
better
it.
ways to ranch me.
All right. Week 3. Let's fast forward to week 3. Jared, start us off.
I played Doomsday. Once again, because I felt like it. I wanted to play another degenerate combo deck after playing super fair magic and playing for 20 turns on 1 life. I was like, I'm gonna play 1 turn on 1 life. It seems way less stressful. It wasn't. Doomsday's really hard, but somehow I 3-0'd.
Wow.
Did I play you on camera again with that deck? I can't remember. I just remember at some
Yes.
point. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
And yeah, the math you had to do.
I goozled myself in 1 game. Forgot
Yeah.
to draw a card off Thought Scour.
Yeah, Jared beat me 3 games in a row on camera, but one of the games in the middle of beating me, he beat himself, conceded out of shame, and then proceeded to beat me in game 3 anyways.
Nice.
Yeah, it was just like, I just sat across from a combo
Oh
player.
yeah. This was. I also played Ben.
No.
Ben on cam. Ben on camera. Ulmer. Yeah.
Oh yeah, because we had a bonus match.
And I got to hard cast a Street Wraith off a Black Lotus to not die.
Powerful
It does
magic.
have Swamp Walk.
It blocks goblins really well. Goblins does not deal well with the 3/4.
Yeah, wow.
My brain is melting.
Yeah.
Still lost the game, but I
Lotus.
definitely morally won the game.
Casting Street Wraith off of Lotus. Welcome to Canadian Highlander, friends.
Yeah, all right.
I like that a lot. I switched it up that week. I found with the amount of counterspells that people were playing, but also an interesting amount of creatures and stuff like that, I wanted to go back to old school. And we've talked a lot about tempo decks. The ability to land a threat, protect a threat, and see how it goes, and how we haven't really seen a lot of them lately. I just went straight old school. I opened up my binder and my collection. I started pulling out cards like Man of War. I was like, yeah, good old 3-mana 2/2 bounce a creature. And the deck was kind of a mess. There are a lot of spells that I should have been playing that I didn't have. Like, I didn't own a Reflector Mage, which is why Mana War made it in. I fixed that. I didn't have a Spell Queller. I didn't have a Nimble Obstructionist. I didn't have all these great cards for the archetype, but I still wanted to play it.
You let the nostalgia like consume you.
Oh,
too.
the nostalgia goggles were great. Yeah, I just like I used to play this list. One of the first Highlander lists I ever played was basically this archetype with maybe a bit of an artifact sub theme, and it really reminded me of Highlander from like, yes, like nostalgic dreams, a green sorcery. Yeah, and it was fun to play again. I went 2-1, and I brought it because it has a clock. It has an aggressive element to try and keep the combo decks honest, because even if I have a counterspell or two, if you're not putting pressure on a combo deck, they're just going to win eventually. So it was fine. It had a couple of counterspells. It's playing Hate Bears, which is another interesting way to disrupt a combo deck, is to tax them or trick them or trap them or just counter the spell or something like that. So it was fun, and I think it has an okay matchup against loaded ground aggressive decks because of the prevalence of life gain and first strike creatures.
Pox. I was inspired to build this deck by Chris Ireland. Excuse me. It was Orzhov Pox, which is a very slow, grindy attrition deck. I suppose it's the way it works is by inflicting card disadvantage on everybody.
Yep.
And then winning the top deck war. I think the deck is really cool and has a lot of promise, and I will probably revisit it to tinker with it. But the problem is that it's kind of Fun Police.
I've literally piloted that before and named it Fun Police.
Yeah, so like at least one of my off-camera matches was a little awkward because it's just like, oh, well, nobody's having a good time now. That sucks. But I think it's a sweet archetype because you get to play all these like sweepers and like weirdo cards that like they seem really bad. I mean, like Necrogen Mist is like, what? Oh, yeah. Or like Bottomless Pit.
Sorry, can you tell me about Necrogen Mist?
Necrogen Mist
boy.
is 2 and a black for enchantment. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, they discard a card.
Oh, so it's similar to Bottomless Pit, except they get to choose.
Yeah. So it plays both
neat.
those cards because it's like, how about we make do with fewer cards?
Yeah. Did you go super spicy and also put in like Chains of Mephistopheles and Anvil?
Anvil of Bogarden.
Anvil of Bogarden, that's the lock combo. That is basically like, hey, if you have no cards in hand, you'll never get cards in hand.
No. I stopped short of that. Although this deck could probably play the Abyss or Nether Void.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, you're making me want to play Pox now. Maybe I'll open up the next league with some good old fashioned Mardu Pox. You got to get those wildfires in there too.
I swear to God, if for the next league, like 4 of us all bring like the Abyss / Nether Void decks on the first time.
All right. We all agree to bring Abyss Nether Void, and Ben and Cam won't know what hit them.
Welcome to the first ever 12-hour Friday night fight.
What happened in game 1 while they decked themselves? This 100-card singleton?
Well, we both had Nether Void in play.
Nobody could cast anything. There were no lands.
Wait, they're
all
both
spell-
world
Technically, they're
enchantments.
world enchantments.
Oh, man.
As
Yeah.
a level 2 judge, I still don't know how world enchantments work.
Oh, God.
Only one.
Only
And
one.
the latest one.
That's what I figured.
Yeah. As somebody that's played a deck recently with 3 world enchantments in it, the latest one is the one that
At one
sticks
point,
around.
if there was a world enchantment, you couldn't play another one, right?
Oh, you just couldn't cast it?
Like-
It wasn't like the weird legend rule? Because this one, it replaces it, right? Like
I'm pretty sure that's what happens now.
It's like a different.
But I'm
different
pretty
legend
sure at
rule.
one point, if there was a world enchantment, you just couldn't play another one.
Let me think.
I can neither
Czar of
confirm nor
Wonders,
deny that.
Sarah's bestiary. Thinking.
The green one that makes them all hasty.
Concordant
Concordant
Crossroads?
Yeah,
Crossroads,
that's another one.
It's when a world permanent enters the battlefield, any world permanent already on the battlefield put into their owner's graveyards. It's
Okay.
the world rule.
Yeah, so Beej looked it up. The world rule is if there is a world permanent in play and a new world permanent would enter play, take any existing world permanents that are in play and put them into the graveyard.
Yeah.
So it replaces.
If 2 come in at the same time, they both go into their graveyards.
But if 2 enter play at the
course.
same
No,
time, they
stop it.
both go into the graveyard.
Oh yeah.
If you try and replenish,
Show and
Yeah, I'm
tell.
glad we thought the same thing.
Oh, I was thinking show and tell.
Oh,
We're both trying to put in world
God.
enchantments.
Hold on, are we splashing blue in these prison lists right now?
No.
Because you're like show and tell, and your opponent's like Emrakul, and you're like the Abyss.
No, hear me out. So you mill all your world enchantments through Chains of Mephistopheles.
'Kay.
And then we replenish them all back.
And then they go right back into your graveyard. So look forward to the Summer of Pox coming to a stream near you.
Gross.
Or if we do another memes and boxes list, it's just 4 prison decks.
Oh god.
Can we just do a mini tournament called Jailhouse Rock?
Oh God.
So what did you bring?
I brought medium green because
Oh,
Twitter
God.
told me to. So medium green, I'm sure y'all are familiar with medium red.
Yes.
Ancient Tomb
You
mana.
talked about it. You love it. You're like, it's the best deck
great.
in the format.
It's the best deck in the format. And I thought, why not play a worse version of this deck with a worse color for this deck? And so I jammed it on stream earlier in the week, and I was like, oh my god, this might be real. And once I cut the Leatherback Baylofts and the Steel Leaf Champions...
Oh, the cards that can't be cast off.
Primal
Yeah.
Crux.
the Kodama of the North Tree.
Now that's interesting that you don't like the green cards, because I distinctly remember Jer murdering me one time, going like Lotus into Steel Leaf Champion.
Right, but that's a
Different deck.
farm
That's
here.
Stompy.
Yeah, I was trying. I had Ancient Tomb and like Mana Crypt is really bad when you've got just triple green pip cards.
Sure.
Okay.
So I went 2-1 with medium green. I lost to Ben, who gobboed me out.
Goblin
for
grenade.
Exactsies. It was such a tight match. We went to game 3, and like I was like, all right, I have these blocks. I go to 6, and I think Ben only had 1 card or like 2 cards, and I had like the read of like, all right, if there was a bolt in here, this would have been fired off already. So like I don't think I'm dying to anything except for something ridiculous. And so there was some bombardment involved to get me down to 6, and then it was a goblin grenade with a goblin arsonist, I believe, for the final 6 points.
Wow, that's spicy.
But yeah, other than that, medium green it's worked its way into my heart. It's such a fun deck. You just get to play, just like think of the cards that you would have drafted in Cube in like 2009. And then you just cast them on turn 2 or turn 3, and you just like get to play like Master of the Wild Hunt, and you get to jam out the Ronus, the original Ronus creature. Mind you, may I recommend familiarizing yourself with these cards, as I
told the powerful magic story about
you
this.
told the story where I ranched myself because I was like, I don't know what this card does. Why do I own a Russian coffin? But yeah, no, I would 100% bring that again. I've played that deck since then quite a lot. I've made some tweaks to it. It's got some new cards, and it's just kind of like, you can kind of bring this deck to, much like most medium decks, you can bring this to a metagame where you know nothing about what's going on, because you're just going to try and high roll through Mana Crypt and Ancient Tomb mana. But if you don't have that available, you can play a pretty reasonable game with like Mana Dorks into a Tireless Tracker, into a Planeswalker.
I guess, I guess the theme on the decks that you can bring to any meta is, does it have its own game plan that doesn't care whatsoever what it's against?
Linear, proactive.
I also had
Yeah.
a pretty good, and this ties in with the best card you're not playing, I believe. Oh, no, wait. How did I ranch you? Was that with Berserk, or was that with Wolfir Silverheart? Right, it was with the turn...
Oh, right, yeah, draft cards from
the
2009.
turn 3 or turn 4 attack you for like 22 or something. It was like Dork, Boon Satyr, Ancient Tomb into Wolfir Silverheart, attacks next turn with both these massive units, and then
Berserk, the
Alex,
blocked one or
Alex
whatever.
like goes to Swords or Path one, and I'm like, oh, Vines of Astwood with quick kicker.
Yikes.
That was, yeah. Got thumped real hard.
Anyways, yeah, this deck was gas.
And you went 2-1?
2-1,
Yeah.
yeah.
So at this point, Ben Ben wanted to run back the success of RDW, but again, because this is on camera, didn't quite feel comfortable running the Sameless back-to-back, so switched to Gobos. And I don't think he did as well. I think he went 2-1.
He went 2-1.
Yeah, like still well, but didn't get the 3-0 or anything like that.
Went 1-2.
I think maybe he went 1-2.
I remember his
because
match,
the gap between
He
people started.
lost to me, beat you.
and then I don't know what happened in
he
his match
lost
against
to
Cameron.
Cam.
I know it was like this mass. I think he lost to Cameron.
I think
remember it
Aristocrats versus Goblin probably favors Aristocrats there.
I remember popping off for Cameron afterwards because it was like this absolute slugfest with like active player shenanigans involving blood artists and goblin bombardments and stuff, and it was a grind. I would like, ugh.
Yeah, but I think if the game goes long, it favors Aristocrats there because they're like, I'm going to make 1 million Goblin tokens. You're like, yes, please.
Well, it can, but there are goblin lords and other effects that are like, oh, you have mountains?
Goblin King.
My creatures are unblockable. Whee!
Yeah. And then Cameron went 1-2 again, iterating through different Aristocrat stuff, constantly improving.
He added the fourth color for this
At that
tournament.
point, yeah. So this was interesting. Sort of at this point, it had shifted in between where you two were tied for first place.
Yes.
I was 6 points back. Ben was just behind me, and then Alex and Cameron were tied at the end. So we had sort of a clear top 3 there. I think at that point it was mathematically impossible for Ben to win, and I could win if I 3-0'd and you two 1-2'd. Otherwise, we could force a tie. There's like a lot of potential for a tiebreaker that day. So it's very neat. So knowing that, going into the final, that, you two were tied for first place, I had a chance to bring it up. Did you put any thought into the deck? Did anything go through your head to change anything like this? Jer, final week, you're in first place.
Tied for first.
You're tied for first. What are your thoughts?
I was waffling between a few different decks. I had been working on like new food chain brew, which I had not really played, and War of the Spark had come out between this last episode and the new one, so there were like a bunch of war cards that I wanted to play, and in the end I went home. I played blue-white control.
Yeah,
it's the deck that's like,
and that's why I think it's interesting.
It's me.
That is like your meta deck. That's the deck you brought to the top 8 for the past couple of years. Like when Jer wants to win, he brings control. That was interesting.
Well, not necessarily when I want to win.
Okay.
If I really wanted to win, I probably wouldn't play blue-white control. But it's the deck like that I like, and I feel like I can play it well. And yeah, I don't know. I really like the deck, and I also thought I'd have a reasonable game against Ben if we ended up playing. Like blue-white control usually has pretty good games against D-Gen combo or medium whatever.
Wait, I'll hold.
No, jump in.
No, well, I don't want to, mess up the order. But originally I was going to play blue-green tempo, like a Sorensen one.
Yeah.
I didn't know what Jer was playing. And it's funny now that I think about it because it would have been a salty
Rematch,
run back opportunity for the blue-green versus blue-white for like the top of the throne sort of thing too.
And Ben beat me last time. We had super close match. He took it in game 3, but
interesting. Yeah, I don't want to talk about the record too much there because I think the end was very, very interesting. So I brought back blue-white tempo, but this time tuned. I switched out 12 cards. Basically, I took all the older cards out and I brought in the modern, better equivalents.
Like the equivalents that have been banned in previous.
Yeah. So Mana War got
whatnot.
replaced by Reflector Mage. Mana Leak got replaced by Miscalculation. Or I brought in Memory Lapse as well as just like some of these more tempo cards.
you cut Mana Leak?
No, I didn't cut Mana Leak.
Okay, good.
Okay, Jesus.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
pardon?
Miscalculation got in there. Deputy of Detention got in as
card's
another one of
really
those
good.
bounce effects. That card put in work. Spell Queller went in. Nimble Instructionist made its way in. Like, I cut Oblivion Ring for Deputy of Detention, right? Like, the deck just got so much better. And again, I thought it did well last time. If I up the power level, it'll do great. It's got game ever I want it to. I think the trick with a deck like this is you're like, okay, I have access to 6 counterspells, and maybe a Stifle or something like that, is really determining when is your moment. Because with that number, you're likely going to get 1 counterspell a game. Is it a tempo play? Is it something my creatures can't answer? Is there some other way I can get around this? Can I bounce it? What do you let resolve? And yeah, the deck went pretty well that time. Alex, it's the finals.
People wanted to see Junk Sisters, so I brought Junk Sisters.
Hell yeah.
And I finally got the cards together for it. It's the Doran, or, well, Abzan, life gain deck. Which is, it's a little silly, but it's actually like a reasonably solid Abzan shell that has a bunch of incidental life gain cards that complement the existing already life gainy cards, you know, like Siege Rhino. Or like, what are the other ones?
Stuff
Archangel
like
of Thune.
Like Scavenging Ooze.
How did you feel about the number of like life payoffs? Obviously, gaining life is fine and does a kind of nice buffer to stuff.
I kept it deliberately quite low.
Okay.
Because those cards are so bad if you if you draw them in a vacuum. So it was probably just Johnny's Pride Mate and the human version where you can pay.
Karlov.
Yeah, there's also Karlov. Like,
Steward of something.
yeah, Steward of.
Whatever that card was, the 2/2 that
Serene.
every time you gain life, pay a white, and you can put a.
Serene Steward.
Yeah.
Yeah. From Battle for Zendikar.
Yeah, I played that one.
Card was so good in that limited format.
That put in some work. Like, that was starting to get out of control.
Target creature.
Oh, yeah.
Oh.
So yeah, like I think keeping the life gain payoff cards low was a good idea because like I stopped short of stuff like was it like Pale Rider or something?
Lone Rider.
Lone Rider, which is like it's like a 1/1 with
First strike,
lifelink. Yeah, first
lifelink.
strike and lifelink, and if you've gained 3 life, it flips.
And then it's a 4/4 with first strike.
Yeah,
and
but
lifelink.
it's like
First
this
strike,
is
trample.
Yeah.
That's tough. Yeah.
but it's gonna be a 1/1 most of the time.
Were you playing Resplendent Angel?
Is that a horse or a pig?
No,
It's
it's
both.
both.
Oh, dude, Resplendent
I
Angel.
wasn't playing Resplendent Angel. I was playing the Angel combo with Spike Feeder.
You were playing
yeah.
Resplendent Angel.
Oh, the 3-drop, yeah.
Yeah, you
oh,
had,
no, I was.
You totally had it in play against me.
Because
Yeah.
that card's absurd.
Woof.
Yeah.
So it's like these ones are pretty decent on their own.
Yeah. I mean, you play that just in mid range because it's good.
Yeah, I think I tried to skew as hard as possible towards cards that would do something even if you weren't gaining life. This was also a fun place to put Face Fetters.
Yeah.
That was cool. Like, I don't think that card gets enough love. I really dig it. I think it performed okay. This is probably a deck that I need to get some reps in on. Unfortunately, the pattern it seems to sometimes follow is that it's good at stalling the game for a while, and then you just get steamrolled.
That was the question about the payload, right? Like, go ahead.
Just like sort of falling further and further behind, but you're like buffing your life total enough that you haven't lost the game yet, but you're like on the track of losing as opposed to.
Yeah, I think it doesn't lose harder than it wins.
How many planeswalkers were on your top end? Because like
A small handful. Like I think I played both Sorens.
yeah.
I cut Kaya because she doesn't make creatures, and I wanted to keep that theme sort of in there. And I think I may have had a Chad, and or
3-mana Chad? Because
4-mana Chad.
There's a lot of lifelink, or there's a lot of planeswalkers that are just like, oh yeah, sure, gain some life as well. Seems
Yeah,
spicy.
I mean, so there's different ways you could build this deck. Different color combinations. I mean, like I went with 3 color just because that gives you access to the most number of Soul Sisters. Because there's a green one.
Yeah.
Essence Warden.
Essence.
I'm not meaning to slightly derail or troll, and it seems like that, and that's very on brand for me.
Go on.
But were you playing Blood Artists?
No.
Okay. That's all I'm going to ask.
This
When
isn't
you-
aristocrats, Ben.
Were you okay? But you weren't playing Blood Artists or Sack Outlets or anything.
No.
Okay.
Just curiosity.
Just don't worry about it.
All right. Ben, what were you on?
Yeah, we'll talk. I'm glad you asked, Serge. So originally I had blue-green Sorensen
Yeah.
built, the tempo deck, until about 4 or 5 hours before the event, and then the greed slowly consumed me.
And a Twitter poll.
And a Twitter poll. Yeah, I played a 9-land Goblin Charbelcher because Twitter told me.
So we're 4 for 4. Your metagame pick entirely influenced by Twitter.
Well, I kind of like to... It kind of plays into what Alex said, in that I like playing things that people want to see, especially if they're archetypes that we have either talked about or like we've kind of memed about but have some respect for. Now, Charbelcher, nobody respects it, so that's fine. But like I like giving kind of exposure
It's not good.
to those decks. And I had played this earlier in the week, and it took me about 2 hours before I had won a game with this, with 9-land Belcher. And then I needed a deck for the Thursday night tournament, and I was like, well, I guess this is all I have built, so I guess I'll bring this. And then I 3-1'd with it. And it wasn't as though it was like an easy like walk through the park, like, oh, my opponent's all mulligan to 0 or whatever. I fought against 2 Thalia / Aven Mind Sensor / Thoughtseize Knight of Autumn decks and a Blue Moon deck, piloted by like one of the best players and one of the most dedicated blue mages in our community.
This is totally unrelated, but I just noticed on the reprint of Goblin Charbelcher, he's shoveling a Lotus into that hopper.
Oh yeah. Important because one of the kills that I had on that day was a
Is that
turn
a ratchet
2
bomb?
I believe.
I think that is a ratchet bomb.
A turn 2 belch that involved the Lotus. Now, for the actual event, I went 1-2.
Oh.
I beat Cameron in a very close 3-game series where I was at 1, and it involved Bolus's Citadel not being super kind to me. But, I mean, you gotta do what you gotta do. I fought Alex, and it was weird. I mulliganed to Oblivion one of our games because I couldn't find lands. I don't.
That's so weird.
Yeah, it's very strange. And then
I mean, you had 9 in the deck.
What are the
We've
chances?
tried telling people that the all acceleration no lands deck doesn't work, and here you are.
it worked. It has worked. Look, I'm convinced that this is something that can at least kill people.
No
which is why-
acceleration, few land, or all acceleration, no lands, 6 drops.
Yeah, this is fine. You got rituals. You got Lotus. And then I lost to Ben. He kicked my teeth in. It was absolutely brutal.
Yeah.
But I kind of expected that. I hadn't really come across a lot of aggro, and the few aggro decks, especially ones with like mox draws, are the ones that I figured would be real bad for me, and it turns out they were real bad for
Yeah.
me.
And he had a lot of moxes.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So to tell really quick what they were on, Ben was on 5 color aggro?
5 colors of you.
Just 5, yeah, just 5 color Mox, haste creatures. What is the most powerful creature at every, like, 1, 2, 4?
I built him a hot one.
Yeah. And Cameron was again on Aristocrats.
4-color aristocrats.
So
yeah.
at round 2, at the end of round 2, I'm sitting 2-0.
Yeah.
You're 1-1 at this point?
Yes.
And Jer is also 1-1 because
I've
Cameron
lost-
just
That was-
beautiful match.
That was an insane match.
Of if you watch any match in the replay, watch the match of Cameron versus Jer on Aristocrats v Control there. It was like chef kiss beautiful. We were screaming in the other room as we watched things go. Oh, it was so good.
I popped off like
the
a
aristocrat off the top.
Yeah.
popped off like a soccer dad that gets moved from the field for being too loud.
And then
That's
so
my
what,
son! That's my son!
so the position after round 2 there is if I win and Ben and Jer both lose, we could have forced a 3-way playoff for first place. Ben lost.
Yeah.
I won.
Oh.
Conditions were perfect.
Oh.
But then Jer had to go and win, and that's ultimately what made him the winner and stuff like that. So, yeah, I know. Oops, we all got to go home a little bit earlier and actually have dinner rather than forcing a potential really complicated
Yeah, we
3-round
didn't have to play
final.
an 8-round.
I was
round-robin.
gonna suggest like
Restarting the league.
we put the 3 decks together, shuffle them together, and play Judge's Tower. That's how we determine the winner. Or like a game of Commander with the 3 Highlander decks. You know, just something janky.
That's far too many lands to
Yeah.
belch.
Well,
So any sort of conclusions? You know, we're going to do this again in the future. We're going to do more leagues. Having this experience, is anything going to change for the next time you bring it in?
I might go with Cam's plan and take black mold, and then just like really shave it down until it's like singing.
I'm gonna listen to Twitter less. I'm still.
That's a great idea.
I won't meme as hard because I really tried to stunt. Lord knows I did with the Charbelcher. Didn't go as well, but I like showcasing those decks. I think it's an interesting experience to get those, to see them in action, because even if you're describing them, it doesn't always translate very well.
So you ended up like that Vine. It's like, I'm gonna drink this vodka down the hatch.
Yeah, basically. Like I'm 100% bringing Lantern Control for one of these events.
Yeah, okay.
I would like to be welcomed back to the moon base, so I won't bring it multiple times. But
Interesting. Jer, anything you do differently as a returning champion?
No, just don't fix it if it ain't broke. keep doing the same thing. I really felt like I stayed true to myself and played decks that I enjoyed playing. I might listen to Twitter more. Who knows? Maybe not. We'll see.
All right. Well, then let us move to our closing segment. Powerful Magic. Bear, 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 bear. And up today, we have Jer.
It's me.
Jer, you want to tell us the story of Powerful Magic?
Yeah. So this one, I promised from my stream a little while ago. I was playing High Tide versus, it was game 1, and I was playing against a regular viewer who is known to brew, and I was unsure what they were playing, and by like turn 4 or so, the board was clear. I had High Tide and Time Spiral in my hand. I had Cryptic Command. The only thing was I only had 4 lands in play, so I was like, I'll wait one turn. Like, what's the worst that could happen?
Ooh,
Then they had like the board wasn't clear. They had a small board, but I'm like, yeah, I have Cryptic Command. Like, they can't kill me. Then they attacked with like 2 of their 4 creatures. And I ended up going to 10. Then they cast a spell. I countered it with Cryptic Command and bounced their like most threatening creature, and they responded with Hidetsugu's Second Right.
the bait.
And just note that I probably could have gone off on my last turn. Probably would have won. It was probably like 85 or 90% to win from the spot I was in. But I was like,
flawless bait.
I have Cryptic Command. Like, what's the worst that can happen? Like, I'm not dead on board. I can just take damage. And like, they didn't attack with all their creatures. I'm like, oh, they must have misclicked. Oh no, that sucks. Like, oh.
To clarify, to those not intimately familiar with the Saviors of Kamigawa rare featuring a legendary ogre creature.
Yeah.
Hidetsugu's Second Right is a 3 and a red for an instant that says, if target player has exactly 10 life, Jer did. Second Right deals 10 damage to that player.
There was a while.
It did.
There was a while that this card
Oh my god.
was ever present in the Victoria meta, and you would be so aware of what your life total was. You'd start playing cards like Pain Lands just deliberately to like ping your life total, or people would be playing Grove of the Burn Willows to like end of turn put you to 10 life, kill you with Second Rights.
Wow.
Like, oh, it was amazing. Nelly had a copy of this card that he would hand people and ask them to sign it after he killed them with it.
I own that Second Right.
And it's just covered in names of like Victoria Highlander players throughout the years. I'm so happy somebody brought it back. I'm sorry you died to it.
I like tilted off my stream for like 5 minutes. I had to switch to the Be Right Back screen. I was like, oh no. I was like sobbing in the background. It was
amazing.
I eventually came back and pretended it didn't happen. But
that's very good. All right, friends. Well, that's going to be it for our episode today. Thank you very much for watching. A reminder that you can find all of us at Magic Fest Seattle at the end of June 20th through 23rd.
Probably all of us.
Oh, right.
Probably all of us.
At least 3 of us.
Yeah, and plus a bunch of lure, and plus Beej will be there doing his best to certify L4 judges. Just the amount of Thank you, Beach, for all your service to the whole community. Also a reminder that Northwood Hunt is brought to you by you with your support over the Patreon at patreon.com/LoadingReadyRun. Literally couldn't do it without you. Anyways, friends, we'll see you next episode. Thank you very much. And until then.